Have you ever found yourself in the darkest pit, seemingly forgotten, while the grand dreams of your youth felt utterly shattered? What if the very moments that seem to break you are precisely where a divine hand is forging your greatest strength, weaving a masterpiece you could never have imagined? Join us as we journey into one of the most compelling and profound stories ever told, a biblical epic of betrayal, perseverance, and ultimate redemption. It's the story of a boy with a dream, a prisoner who became a prince, and a family saved by a love that transcended the deepest wounds. Not a soldier, not a prophet, just the 11th son of a shepherd named Jacob. His name was Joseph. He was young, vibrant, barely 17, with a spirit brimming with hope and a future whispered in vivid prophetic dreams. Dreams of stars bowing, of harvests yielding, of his own brothers and even his parents humbling themselves before him. Joseph was more than just a boy, he was a vessel of destiny. His father, Jacob, a man whose own life had been shaped by divine favor, saw something precious, something set apart in Joseph. He loved him more than all his other sons, a love so profound, so undeniable, that he gifted Joseph a robe of many colors, a rare garment, not just of beauty, but of distinction, a princely robe in a shepherd's field. It was a tangible symbol of Jacob's profound affection, a mark of unique favor, a garment that spoke of destiny, of dreams yet to unfold. But here's the unsettling truth. Where overwhelming love abounds in one heart, bitter jealousy can, and often does, fester in another. Joseph's 10 older brothers, hardened by years of toil and overshadowed by their father's evident favoritism, could not bear him. They watched him with eyes full of resentment, their hearts twisting with envy. The very mention of his dreams where they, his elders, would bow before him, ignited a furious rage within them. The idea that this naive, indulged boy would one day rule over them was not just unbearable, it was an unbearable insult. Could you imagine the depth of that hatred, the simmering resentment in their daily lives? Their jealousy grew so potent, so consuming, that it led them to an unthinkable act. One day, far from the watchful eyes of their father, as Joseph journeyed to check on them in the fields, they seized their chance. Without mercy, they tore the glorious multicolored robe from his shoulders, ripping away not just the fabric, but the very symbol of his father's love and his youthful innocence. Their hands, hardened by labor, became instruments of cruelty. They threw him into a dry, desolate pit, a place of darkness, isolation, and despair. A place where dreams went to die. Can you feel the cold fear, the crushing despair of being abandoned, thrown away by your own flesh and blood? But the betrayal didn't end there. Their thirst for revenge, or perhaps for profit, led them to a chilling decision. They sold him. For a paltry 20 pieces of silver, the price of a common slave, they sold their own brother to a passing caravan of Ishmaelite traders. Their own brother sold like a slave, destined for a foreign land, a life of bondage. Yet, here lies the first profound mystery of Joseph's story. The hands that sold him were not stronger than the unseen hand that held him. The very chains meant to bind him were, in a deeper sense, guiding him. Joseph was taken to Egypt, a land of towering pyramids and ancient gods, a world utterly alien to the pastoral fields of Canaan. He arrived not as a favored son, but as property. He was bought by Potiphar, a high-ranking officer in Pharaoh's court, the captain of the guard. And there, in this foreign land, Joseph did not succumb to despair. He served faithfully, diligently, with an integrity that shone even in the shadows of slavery. And God was with him. So powerful was this divine presence, so evident was Joseph's character, that everything he touched prospered. Potiphar quickly recognized Joseph's extraordinary gifts, not just his administrative skill, but the tangible blessing that seemed to follow him. Joseph quickly rose to become the overseer of Potiphar's entire household, entrusted with all his master's possessions. But just as light attracts shadows, success often attracts new forms of temptation and peril. Potiphar's wife, captivated by Joseph's striking appearance and upright character, desired him. She pursued him relentlessly, day after day, attempting to lure him into sin. But Joseph, whose heart was anchored in God, resisted her again and again. "How then could I do this great wickedness," he famously declared, "and sin against God?" His integrity was unshakable. He fled her presence, leaving his garment in her hand. But a woman scorned often turns to malice. When Joseph refused her, her desire twisted into fury, and she lied. She fabricated a story of assault, twisting the truth to protect her own shame. And once again, Joseph was thrown down, not into a dry pit this time, but into the deepest, darkest dungeon of Egypt, the king's prison. An unjust accusation, a shattered reputation. From the comfort of Potiphar's home to the cold, unforgiving stone of a prison cell. It seemed his dreams were not just delayed, but utterly demolished. Can you imagine the despair? The bitter irony of being punished for doing what was right? Yet, even there, in the profound isolation of a dungeon where hope often dies, God was with him. Joseph's unwavering spirit, his innate leadership, and the palpable favor of God continued to shine through. He found favor even with the chief jailer, who, recognizing Joseph's extraordinary abilities and upright character, soon entrusted him with the care of all the other prisoners. And he served, not just surviving, but thriving in the very place meant to bury him. Then, one night, the mysterious hand of God stirred the stillness of the prison cell with the strange language of dreams. Two of Pharaoh's officials, the chief cupbearer and the chief baker, were thrown into the same prison, and each had a disturbing dream. They didn't understand them, they were troubled. But Joseph did. By the power of God, Joseph interpreted their dreams with astonishing accuracy. To the cupbearer, he foretold restoration to Pharaoh's service within 3 days. To the baker, a tragic prophecy of execution. And as the story unfolded, his words proved true. The baker was executed, the cupbearer was restored. As he bid the cupbearer farewell, Joseph made a humble plea. "Please, remember me when it is well with you. Show me kindness and make mention of me to Pharaoh, and get me out of this prison." It was a small thread of hope, a desperate longing for freedom. But the cupbearer forgot. Just as Joseph had been forgotten by his brothers, he was now forgotten by the one man who could help him. Joseph remained forgotten. The silence stretched for 2 agonizing years. 2 more years in the suffocating darkness of a prison, while the outside world moved on. Have you ever felt forgotten, left behind? What do you do when the very people who could help you forget? When years pass and the promise seems to appoint a wise and discerning man to oversee the land, to collect and store grain during the years of abundance, preparing for the lean years to come. And Pharaoh believed him. He recognized the Spirit of God in Joseph, the wisdom that transcended human understanding. He saw not a slave, not a prisoner, but a man chosen by God. In one single astonishing day, Joseph's life pivoted from the deepest despair to the highest honor, from prisoner to prince. Pharaoh placed his signet ring on Joseph's hand, a symbol of royal authority. He clothed him in fine linen robes, a vivid echo of the multicolored robe torn from him years before. A gold chain adorned his neck, and in a dramatic display, he was set in the second chariot, second only to Pharaoh himself, with heralds proclaiming, "Bow the knee."
Authority over all Egypt entrusted to a forgotten slave. The dreamer had become the deliverer. The one whose youthful dreams had led to his downfall now stood as the very fulfillment of those dreams, raised up by the hand of God to save a nation. And in time, the famine came, just as Joseph had foretold. It gripped not only Egypt, but all the surrounding lands, including Canaan, the homeland Joseph had been so cruelly torn from. The world groaned under the weight of hunger. But in Egypt, thanks to Joseph's foresight and divine wisdom, there was bread. From far away, in the dust-choked land of Canaan, Joseph's desperate brothers came, seeking food, unaware of the incredible journey their victim had taken. They bowed before him, unknowingly fulfilling the very dreams they had once despised him for. They saw only the powerful viceroy of Egypt. They did not recognize the brother they had sold. And Joseph, looking upon their bowed heads, remembered. He remembered the dream. The full, bitter, beautiful circle of prophecy was complete. In that profound moment, standing on the pinnacle of power, Joseph had every right, every justification to judge them, to punish them for their unspeakable cruelty. He could have exacted vengeance, returned every ounce of pain they had inflicted upon him. But instead, he wept. He wept with a raw, uncontrollable grief, a torrent of years of pain, longing, and astonishing love. He revealed himself. His voice choked with emotion. He spoke the Hebrew words that shattered their world. "I am Joseph, your brother." Imagine the terror, the guilt, the disbelief in their eyes. But Joseph, in an act of forgiveness that transcends human understanding, spoke words that echo through time, transforming betrayal into divine purpose. "Do not be afraid. Do not be grieved or angry with yourselves because you sold me here. For God sent me before you to preserve life. You meant evil against me, but God meant it for good, to bring about that many people should be kept alive, as they are today." Joseph was betrayed, abandoned, imprisoned, forgotten. But he did not betray. He did not abandon hope. He did not forget his God. He believed. And because of his unwavering faith, because of his profound forgiveness, nations were saved from starvation. His fractured family was miraculously restored. And God's ancient promise to Abraham to multiply his descendants and make them a great nation was preserved through one man's extraordinary journey. His life stands as a testament. Even when darkness surrounds you, even when human hands inflict the deepest wounds, God is writing a story. He is working. He is weaving threads of tragedy and triumph into a tapestry of redemption. Joseph's story reminds us that apparent delays are often divine preparations, and what seems like an ending can truly be a new beginning. So, when life feels overwhelmingly unfair, when you're thrown down again and again by circumstances or by those you trusted, when others forget you or actively try to erase you, remember Joseph. Remember the prisoner who became a prince. Remember the dreamer who became the deliverer. And know, deep in your soul, that the God who seemed silent, the God who seemed absent, was in fact meticulously writing a masterpiece through every single moment of your journey. What part of Joseph's incredible journey resonates most with you? Have you ever experienced a moment where what others meant for harm, God used for good? Share your thoughts and reflections in the comments below. Your perspective truly matters and helps keep these powerful conversations alive. If Joseph's story inspired you or gave you a fresh perspective on your own challenges, don't forget to like this video, share it with someone who might need to hear this message of hope, and subscribe for more thought-provoking biblical narratives. Thank you for joining us on this journey. May the wisdom of God, the peace of His Spirit, and the love of His Word be with you always. God bless you.